Hello, folks. Thanks for taking a look at today's blog. We're going to be covering some stuff inside of ERA. I've gotten a few calls in the last probably a month or so, a couple of different customers asking some questions about things inside of ERA. What I refer to as ERA, excuse me, under the View tab, we have, or especially tools, we have ERA, Explode, Render, and Animate. So those are the environments in Solid Edge where you can make things move around. Of course, we can apply motors and things at the assembly level and animate those in a rendering environment. So I set up a motor here. Let me turn this part on. You can see what I did. It's very simple. I just did a little linear motor, and to set one up is just really just a matter of saying, okay, I want to do a rotational or linear, and we just want to move in a line. So just did a linear motor, and I just gave it some distance, and this is basically all it does. It just slides that into there. So nothing too crazy. All right, so that's what I did on the linear motor. So we're going to go into ERA now and actually utilize some of that stuff in our render. So let's say this. All right, so first thing we want to do is let's go ahead and explode this to see how it's going to move and assemble. I have some parts here inside of here. I'm not really worried about that. I'm just kind of worried about this head section right here. So let me just show, and let's explode this. All right, so I'm just going to do, I like just doing the auto explode. I'm going to just come over here and say auto explode. And we have a couple options here people aren't aware of. What the option is basically top level or sub-assembly. So you notice we have some sub-assemblies in the Pathfinder here. So the head is a sub-assembly. So if I'm going to do auto explode, you're going to see what's going to happen here. I'm going to say explode top level and hit explode. All right, so what it did is bind the sub-assemblies. So what it means by binding sub-assemblies, it actually puts a little feature next to it. You notice this little icon next to the head now. It's got that little extra symbol. What that does is basically this command right here, bind and unbind. So if you want something to move as a unit, like a sub-assembly, and not explode, well, you just do it top level. If you do it individual level, you can always go and bind things individually. So for example, if you wanted this to come over here and say, okay, I want that to just bind that. And now that is a bound subassembly, and that will just move as a unit and won't explode individually. All right, things don't always explode in the right direction. So, you know, there's some options here after the fact. So again, I like doing an auto explode, then coming back and just kind of reconfiguring it just by doing some extra explodes. So for example, if I want to take the little switch here, any given time, so you have a little quick bar here. So you see the check and the X. So anytime I have a selected part, I can just right click to accept it and go pick the part that I want to offset and explode from. And it basically repositions. And you can adjust the distance after the fact right here by just using that to kind of dictate how far high up or how far you want that to move out. All right, so once I have that, then I can come back and say, you know what, let's go ahead and unexplode that or explode this. So you can unbind that anytime you want. Then you can just say explode. Let's, or actually see auto explode and do, actually it's, here we go. I'm going to move this out a little bit first. Trying to remember what I was trying to do. All right, so then we're going to go explode, and we're going to take this whole unit, and we're going to pick all the parts in here. So I'm just going to say explode, and all you have to do is start picking, and you notice it's going to start picking items inside and make sure I get all these little guys in here. So that's it. Then I'm going to tell it to explode off a face. So because what I want to do is explode off this face on the inside, because that actually molts to the inside. So it's going to ask you which side you want to explode to again, and we have an option here to explode this again to make it move just like a unit. Let's say this one comes off the shelf like it is. So it's going to move components as a unit and just move it in one shot and explode. And there we have it. The next one we're going to explode is this bottom stack up. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. Grab all the parts. Make sure I got them all. Looks pretty good. And now I'm just going to explode this off of this face, but this one we're going to tell it to spread the components evenly. So then it's going to kind of just lay them out like you would think an exploded view would be. All right, I missed a couple. That's not a big deal. I kind of did that purposely to kind of show you. You can go back anytime after the fact and do some repositioning of your items. So for example, the bolts actually go, this bolts through that into there. So we can come over here and just say explode again, and these will be moved as a unit. So I'll explode those off of that face that way. And I want to move this as a single piece, so they're just basically be tied together. That looks pretty good. And this one I did miss, which I didn't actually mean to, but that can just basically go, I think that goes right there. And then we can kind of just drag component to kind of spread the distance out, and it looks pretty good. And you notice these lines right here are kind of this little, the flow lines kind of offset. So we do have the ability to modify those anytime we want. You can turn them on, turn them off. You can actually change the types of terminators, and I can actually modify one of them. I can come over here, pick that, and just pick the end of that and say, all right, just go to the center of that, and that'll just snap right into place and keep that in line, so those all just flow together. So we can modify flow lines, and if we do some jogs and some things, so for example, if I do a move on that, drag component on that, instead of just doing the spread distance, if I hit the check mark, we get the little coordinate system on it. So what does that allow you to do? Well, now we can actually use it to position. So if I want to say maybe this wants to go over and up a little bit, and now we have our path. And of course, I can, modify some paths around if I want to drag some stuff around. Let's move that jog line up a little bit right about there. That looks good. So we kind of got this little stair step that it's going to actually follow now once we animate it. All right, so that looks good. So let's go ahead and do some testing on this and see how everything's going to move. All right, so I'm going to go into what we refer to as the animation editor. And we're going to go ahead and hit play. First thing, just see, actually I got to add my animation into it. So let's expand this out. All right, so you can see my explosion. So I'm going to show you what's going on here. So we have all these little different items, and they all dictate what's going on at this at the top level here. So let's hit play, and you can actually see. Oops, actually I need to turn that cut off. And there we have it. All right, something I also have going on here is I actually turned something on. I forgot to mention this. These views, we can actually hide things. So for example, if I want to have an item disappear as it moves in, we have some ability to add appearance to your geometry. So we can pick an item. Let's actually do this head unit right here. Accept it. All right, we can come over here and say vanish or appear. And of course, you have some other options here for start. You can start with any pretty much color you want. If I wanted to actually turn that from blue to silver and then finish with something other color, I can do that. Or I can actually just say start with part style that end again with this. That's what this icon does, 0% visibility. And tell it what frame to do it at. Let's do it at frame 40 and accept and finish. All right, so what that does is now, if I rewind, hit play, so now everything's going to fade and go in and do kind of what it's supposed to do. All right, beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and save my configuration here. So let's close my animation, make sure that's saved. And anytime you create a configuration in Solid Edge for exploded views, you have to make sure you save it. So if I came over here and said close ERA, so if I wanted to go back to the assembly, everything I just did would basically disappear, and I'd have to reset that all over. So you want to make a config, because we have configurations here, and it's different than the config at the assembly level. So you notice we have, here's our assembly configurations, and here's our exploded configurations. So I did this a couple times, so I'm just going to say new one. Explode 3. Okay, so you can have multiple configurations of exploded views in there, and that looks pretty good. And say close. All right, so now when I go back down to my animation editor, let's show you how to, so that's the exploded view. All right, and I showed you how to animate some things and move things around using exploded views and using a motor. So the last thing in part of ERA is, of course, the render part. And we do that outside of Solid Edge. We do that with a tool called KeyShot for Solid Edge, which is built in. And you can always buy an advanced pro version of KeyShot. There's multiple levels of it. So what I'm going to do is a KeyShot animation output instead of a KeyShot image output. So we have two different locations to do this. This KeyShot render at the top right here, this allows you to output a image file, so you can do some predefined template sizes and quality. So that again is just a 2D image. Down here at the bottom under my animation editor bar, we have KeyShot Animate here. So this one will actually export out to KeyShot. All right, so that's what we have set up right here. I already exported it out to KeyShot, so you don't have to sit there and watch all the files get put out of Solid Edge into KeyShot. All right, so as soon as I do that, we have some things we want to do first before we start animating this and things like that. Utilize some of the new stuff inside of KeyShot. For example, let's go ahead and get rid of this block right here. And what we're going to use that for initially, or what I put it there for initially, was to do a cutaway. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to assign a cutaway profile to it. So we have the ability to, do different types of cut sections inside of KeyShot. So I'm just going to drag and drop a color one over the top of that. That's fine. All right, so that disappears. And you notice what happens as soon as I do that. That part kind of gets a section cut out of it based on where that part was when I dragged and dropped it on there. So what I'm going to do is I don't want that exactly sitting over the top of it. So I'm going to take that part, and we can move anytime we want. Even inside of KeyShot, I can put the move tool on. And as soon as I start dragging that off, you can see that section kind of disappear. That's perfect. And I'll just drop that right there. All right. Now let's go ahead and add some colors and textures to our parts. So under Material tab in KeyShot, we can just have a list of different objects of different metals, plastics, all these types of different colored anodized aluminum. So under metal, let's just refine this to look under metal here. So expand that out. We have aluminum, brass, copper, iron. Let's go with add some color to these parts here. Some of these are fine, but we want to make the body a different color. Let's go ahead and make it out of plastic. So let's minimize that. And if you have a list here and you're not necessarily finding the objects that you want, we do have a KeyShot library that allows you to import thousands of different textures and colors and backdrops for your animations and for your renders. So what we have here is a question. It's going to ask me is if I apply a material to two items with the same material, it's going to ask if I want these to be linked. Linked them, I say yes. So if I accept that, what that allows me to do is I can go into materials now, and we have our material graph, or if I can just want to start changing the colors of some of the things in here. And that's going to basically change both the items at the same time because we have a list of materials that came from Solid Edge. That's why I kind of make Solid Edge all these multiple colors. So if a lot of times if you change one color and it's something is like this little part right here is what in Solid Edge is steel red hot. If I have 5 colors and I change one, well, it's going to want to go change all those. So I don't necessarily always want to do that. So that's why I like making different color parts. So I don't have to worry about linking them together and inadvertently changing one part when I'm not meaning to. So let's go and do some rough parts here. We got some what they call, where's it at? Mold Tech. There we go. So these kind of have some kind of rough texture to them. So that would be a good object for the grinder disc. And let's make that brushed aluminum. And on the guard, let's make it kind of match the color of the case with some maybe anodized blue. That looks good. And do the same thing on the little mounting part here. And we won't link those together. All right. So now we have our view, everything pretty much colors that we want. We want to maybe put this on a a background or something. Let's go ahead with an environment and maybe use a light tint or a room or something. We can come over here like an indoor interior. We can throw this, looking for, I don't quite see it, but if I come over here to my library and under environments, maybe you can say something like table. Maybe looking for one like a, that's got one right there. Let's go ahead and just download that. Don't know if that's what I want, but I just want to show you how the KeyShot library works. And I can download it to my favorites. And of course, again, under materials, let's type in cloudy. Let's see what. So again, you can just type in anything you want. These are the cloudy materials, etc. Ice. So whole bunch of different stuff you can download into your KeyShot. All right, so let's go ahead and drop that onto our scene. Let's see what that looks like. Which is fine. Obviously I got to scale something up. I got to scale the room down or scale that up. But that's not the kind of table I was looking for. So I'm just going to go ahead and just use an environmental kind of studio effects. I'm just going to say zebra stripes. And that's kind of, let's see if that's bright enough. That's not really bright enough. Oh, that's bright enough. That'll look good. And you have different types of setups. And of course, in the environment, you have the ability to adjust the brightness, adjust the rotation of the rooms around, add some key spotlights and things like that we can do. All right, so that's okay with what I'm going to work for. And let's see, we need to, now, let's go ahead and go to the animation bar. So this is what came from Solid Edge. So I can just literally just turn the loop off, hit play, and see how it's going to move. So the translucencies and all that still comes across. And of course, my little section will go through there. And there's some objects that actually got sectioned that I didn't really want to get sectioned. So for example, the motor. So let's go back to our scene. So our scene is our collection of Solid Edge features and parts that KeyShot will see. And we're looking for like a motor. So basically that's the one I want to not have any section on. So what I can do is go to the cut part, which is that block that's basically transparent, which is right here. And I can edit that material. I can say material, edit that. And again, we can change the style of no caps, inherit caps, color, material. So you have different object or different types of things you can do with that section. I'm just going to go into, let's go inherit on this one. And over here, here's our time we can exclude some things. So we'll just pick this. We'll come over and say, let's exclude that part and the motor and hit OK. And that's going to add that into the list. And you can see immediately it takes that little section out of there. But you notice the head cover actually still has that little section view, so you can still see everything inside of it. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and rewind that. And again, let's go ahead and hit play and see. Oops, not rewind. Hit play. Everything's going to move and adjust and do what it's supposed to do. All right, that's pretty good. All right, so now, once I'm happy with that, everything looks good. We have our colors and textures. Oops, let me rewind that so everything turns back on. All right, now just collapse that back. And we're set. So now it's basically time to add some labels and colors. Let's add some actually textures. Here we go. So we just have some 2D textures in here. I'm just going to pop a KeyShot logo on this guy. Let's add a label to it and make that a little bit smaller and position that around a little bit. Probably make it a little bit smaller. There we go. All right, that looks good. Go ahead and add that logo there. If any other things you want to do to it at this point before we render is the time to do it, because once you hit render, that's when we're going to take the hit. All right, so when I hit render, we have some options here. First we can do is go set up either a still image, so even though I did render this as a 3D animation, I can come over here and still do a image, different types of image formats. What we're looking for is the KeyShot animation. All right, so, and again, we have different types of format, JPEG, here it is, AVIs, movies, GIF files, MP4s, etc. And once you're happy with the settings here, I'm just going to leave the defaults. It's basically just a matter of hitting render. All right, so how a static image works is it's pretty quick in KeyShot. But once you start rendering a animation, you're basically rendering each frame that this part's going to move. So I didn't actually look how many frames I had in the animation, but you can see it says rendering frame 1 of, actually just says frame 1. All right, so once it goes through the frame 1, you'll actually see the part move a little bit. Some parts will start sliding in, and now frame 2. So it's just going to be a continuation, and this could take quite a while. So you can see we're at rendering 8%. So that's going to go through and do that on every single frame. So, assume that it's going to take at least an hour or two, depending on the length of your animation. So this is something I typically like to set up at the end of the day, hit render and hit go. And, by the time I come in the next day, my video will be done. All right, so that's all I got for you, and I'll go ahead and let that run in the background, and I'm going to post that in here in a little bit. We'll see the animated video, but that is Solid Edge and some of the stuff that you can do in KeyShot. One thing before I leave is the ability to update KeyShot, which is nice because we see this little update KeyShot button. So if I ever happen to go add some other parts or move some things around, instead of actually having to go back in and recreate that render in KeyShot, I can actually just say update KeyShot. So what that'll do is add new parts. It'll update the animations, etc. So you don't have to go and recreate your work every single time you want to make a change. You just come back and update that, and that'll spit that back out to KeyShot, and it will just update and move along. All right, folks, thanks. Hopefully you can get some nice little tips out of this. Appreciate your time. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call at Swoosh Technologies, and keep an eye out for future blogs. All right, thank you, folks.